Well, welcome everybody to the weekly head coaches show with Dave Bike, the head coach of the Sacred Heart men's basketball team, off to a 2-0 start in conference, and that's what matters. A tough non-conference season at 2-9, a couple of tough games against a couple of really good Atlantic 10 teams. But what was the difference? Because you come out here in conference play, and there seemed to be a certain level of execution that you guys showed in those first two conference games, a certain level of emotion as well.
Well, I think the difference is a little bit moving up in class where, LaSalle and George Washington are a little bit bigger, a little faster, a little stronger across the board and kind of expose some of our sins. Now we're back in the NEC and hopefully we'll be able to get the job done.
And it must have been very satisfying to beat the defending champions of the NEC, and they're not at full strength right now, but nonetheless, they're always good. They travel well. They make for a good atmosphere, and they make for a good game, but you guys were able to execute, especially a great first half, and open up a big lead, and you end up winning a tight one, 77-73. What did you see against the Blackbirds?
Well, I don't think we should fool ourselves. No Boyd for the rest of the year, no Olaswa, no Garner. It's a different team. But, who we are and how we were playing and coming off the two real bad losses and stuff, it was a big game for us, an important game for us, which I think by getting it done in the close game with LIU, even though we had a big lead, it was we finished in a close game. I think that helped us in the St. Francis game.
Louis Montes really grabbed some attention around the NEC with a 35-point game against LIU Brooklyn. It just kind of seemed like he decided he was going to throw the team on his back on opening night, and boy did he. 35 points, and he was just outstanding.
He didn't have a good game against George Washington. He was 5 for 15, but I liked the way he played in that game. And the day before the LIU game, I asked him, Louis, you going to play like you did against George Washington? And he said, yeah. I said, well, that's good. And he did, he did. He went to the basket. He was around the basket. It's tough. What made him have a really a super game was his second and third effort, I think, and that's what most guys got to understand, that you don't have to be perfect in this game, but if you really have a good second, third, fourth, whatever effort it takes, you'll be all right.
And in the game against St. Francis of New York, they come in Saturday, and it was literally Shane Gibson's day, his birthday. He gets 28 points, and he hits two huge free throws in the final 5 seconds to tie and put you ahead for the 1-point win against LIU Brooklyn. Let's talk about his efforts and his ability to get to the free throw line, because I know you love that, Coach, when guys are willing to bang down low and get those free throws for those free points. Ended up winning a ball game for you.
Yeah, we won the Stony Brook game with the important three-point play that he made. This one, he missed a layup, but he got fouled, and he made two critical foul shots. And there's no doubt on any level and any gender of the sport, male, female, or whatever. I know that, what's her name, Blair won the game, really making a tough one-on-one situation. Foul shots are so important, and it was nice for us to make more than they took, and it's so important. He had a good game. Right before the game when the guys were warming up, I happened to notice that it was his birthday on my calendar, and I text all the team as I usually do on a birthday, and I just said that hope we'll celebrate with a good team effort and have a happy birthday for Shane. And I think that he was a big part of it naturally, and I think it was a good team effort.
Justin Swidowski also really broke out coming off the bench. 14 points in the second half in 5 minutes. That kind of lift off the bench really seemed to spark the rest of the team. Certainly you can't argue with the production, 14 points in 5 minutes. How important is bench play going to be the rest of the way?
Well, we need performances. I don't care if they come off the bench in the performance, or as Lewis had a heck of a performance as a starter. You don't win without performances, and Justin did have production during that stretch, and it was key. And hopefully that, he's been struggling a little bit mentally, physically, not shooting that well and stuff like that, but he came to life, and hopefully carry over.
I mentioned 3 individuals, but as a team, it's really been a gritty effort in these 2 wins. You look at Phil Gaetano and how well he runs the point, Glowiak playing some defense, and I could go right down the list of guys who contributed, maybe not necessarily on the stat sheet, but the effort. What do you think of the overall team effort?
Well, I thought it was pretty good. With Holy Cross game, that second half, we were right in there, and then Lafayette and Stony Brook, I thought the effort was good. And then, we laid 2 eggs down at LaSalle and George Washington. But across the board, for those 5 halves in those games I mentioned, I thought was the best stretch of halves that we put together. And now you add the last 2 games, and there's we talked about that, and the coaches diagram the scouting report. Each individual assistant coach handles one game at a time and stuff, and I said, but there's no diagram for second and third efforts. That's important, just as important as your scouting report. So I think guys realize it, and you got to make sure that you come to play all the time.
All right, so finally, Coach, you're in a good spot at 2-0 to start the conference schedule. You have 4 games in a row on the road coming up. Now, you look at 4-game road game stretches, and they can be kind of tough, but the good news is the first 2 of those are right here in Connecticut. Thursday night in New Britain at CCSU, Saturday afternoon against Quinnipiac in Hamden. So the ability to stay here in Connecticut against 2 in-state rivals, they're always fun matchups. How does your team go into those 2 games to set you up for 4 games on the road?
Well, I don't know if geography matters as much as you're saying. I don't think our guys care about geography too much, but we're on the road, but our road record over the years hasn't been that bad. I'm more disappointed in our home record that we don't really put together a whole big streak and stuff. But they're going to be all tough games. We have 16 games left in the conference, and wherever the standings are right now, I'm not sure that they're going to just remain that same way. I think there'll be some juggling. I know some teams that haven't started off too well, they want to move up. I said, I'll be satisfied where we are if we don't make any move. We just stay exactly where we are. So, again, Central is always tough. We have pretty good games with them in Quinnipiac, one at a time, and then we'll see what happens.
All right, we'll leave geography out of it the rest of the way. Good luck this week. We're looking forward to the games, Coach.
All right, Randy. Thank you.
Dave Vike, head coach of the men's basketball team here at Sacred Heart. 2-game stretch here this weekend for the Pioneers, and it begins Thursday night in New Britain against the Blue Devils at Central Connecticut.